my strong suspicion from talking to people with the Yankees who converse with the Yankees regularly is, and Hal Steinbrenner has said this publicly, is he wants to get under $300 million.
Mm. Hello, welcome to the Pinstripe Post. My name is Ryan Sampson, the host and producer of the show. That's the star of the show, Joel Sherman. Today is Tuesday, November 11th. Joel is taping this from Las Vegas at the GM meetings. We appreciate him as always for giving us some time here. This is really the time now after the World Series that Yankees fans relish in and talking about off-season banter about what exactly this team is going to be doing this offseason, how they're planning to attack the roster construction and what players they could potentially go after, free agents, trades, whatever it may be. And Joel obviously is always on top of it and is so great at covering everything that goes on. So I'm going to start off here just as always. Joel, how you doing today, sir? I know it's early in the morning for you over there, but how's it going in Las Vegas for you?
The problem was it was a late night last night. We There is no closing hour in Vegas, and we pushed it a little too far last night, and it's a quick turnaround today to do this and do the other work. The good news is I officiated and the wedding of my best friend over the weekend, which was
Wow.
nice in New Jersey. 50 years, my best friend. I got to do Dearly Beloved, which really freezes a room, so I liked it. I'm a ham, and that was great. And then I stayed in New Jersey overnight, went to Newark, got involved in the government shutdown by sitting on the tarmac for a little over 3 hours, and but eventually got here. So yeah, general managers meetings are underway. I doubt we'll hear any big business done here. I think this will be a slow moving, especially free agent market that will really pick up at the winter meetings, which I'm sure we'll do shows from a month
Mhm.
from now, which is in the Orlando area. But yeah, uh, where the hot stove has been lit, we're off and running.
Listen, a Joel Sherman is a man of many talents. Did not have you as an officiant on my bingo card for many
Either did, but
talents.
trust me, until I did it, either did I. So you know, but it was good.
What
Literally my best friend for 50 years.
what's the anxiousness level for you trying to get ready for that, if you don't mind me asking?
Not that bad. A lot of reps on doing stuff like this in television. I do have some ham in me. I don't mind an audience. And I I think life is about the great moments and um rising to them a little bit. And I don't mean like as a kind of like bottom of the ninth thing. My friend was marrying a woman we knew growing up. Me, him, and her brother used to play ball together all the time. We played football together, basketball, everything, and they reconnected later in life. So it was just two people I've known for a long time, and I was thrilled and honored they asked. And so, like once that happens, now you want to make sure the probably that it's great, but also I told them, I said 5 jokes, less than 5 minutes, it's your night.
Joel
That's
Sherman, that is
that's
that's
what
awesome. You get to share that to us, man. And that's cool that they got to reconnect later in life, and like you said,
Yeah,
stepping up in
no,
the
really
moment.
terrific, really terrific. Like one of the theme of what I spoke about mainly was that you can't give up in life. You can't give up on at work, you can't give up at achievement, you can't give up on family, you can't give up on love. If you're lucky, you'll find it again. And I'm so thrilled for my friends, especially my really good friend whose father worked at the Post forever
Wow.
um, as a photographer, Don Hallisey, who's passed, a great man. Yeah, like it's just don't give up. You gotta keep trying.
You can't give up and you have to keep trying, just like the Yankees are going to keep trying to improve this roster, Joel Sherman. And
Good segue.
yeah, listen, it starts though, I guess, really at this GM meetings. Like you said before, though, there's probably not going to be much coming out of this, but this is where talks really start. And it feels like, the rumor mill really gets churning. So I wanted to try something a little bit different today for this episode and give you a little bit more of like, hey, this is what fans maybe are asking a lot around the rumor mill and on social media and whatnot. I'm going to ask you 5 questions, 5 burning questions for the hot stove the Yankees fans are asking themselves and probably would love to hear your opinion slash take on these things. And I think the biggest question we have to start out with, Joel, is Cody Bellinger versus Kyle Tucker. Two biggest names you could argue in the free agent market from the outfielder position. Kyle Tucker, obviously coming from Chicago. He started out in Houston. He's a big name out there. But then Cody Bellinger, the guy you had after you traded for him from Chicago and had a great year for the Yankees, is now a free agent after he opts out of his deal. Is this a matter of the Yankees are just all focused on Cody Bellinger, or should there be a real conversation of, hey, Kyle Tucker's a little bit younger, and maybe you want to give him a bigger deal here and invest in that? So, what do you think that strategy looks like right now for the Yankees?
Yeah, so I think the answers to probably every question you'll end up asking is going to be unsatisfactory to the large degree of Yankee fans, in part because we've just begun. Brian Cashman addressed reporters right after the season. I don't think he's going to talk to reporters until tomorrow. As you know from when I do this show, the Yankees are very media unfriendly. They try to limit uh, you know, uh, the other three sports are all being major sports are all being played. We're here to some degree because we cover the team. That's our responsibility, but it's also for MLB good coverage at a time where they're not playing to, get the hot stove lit. And too many executives run away from this and uh, don't make themselves easily available to talk at this. The Yankees are unfortunately near the top of the list of groups that do it. So I think he has a media availability responsibility mandated tomorrow. American League general managers. We're talking on Tuesday if we need tomorrow. On Wednesday, I would doubt we'll see him make himself. In a previous time, executives made themselves available to their city's reporters every day in an event like this. Now, this is like pulling teeth with people. So anyway, so there's that. He might come out tomorrow and say whatever. In the thing that I think will disappoint Yankee fans is, and of course, this always people get angry when you say it is. I am not Hal Steinbrenner. I'm not Hal Steinbrenner's representative. If I owned the Yankees and I had lots of money, I might do other things. There are people who I trust who tell me that Hal Steinbrenner's Yankees lose money every year and that he wants to bring the payroll down. Now, if that first part is true, I don't know. They don't open their books. I know the franchise value continues to go up. That's just duh. But my strong, strong suspicion from talking to people with the Yankees who converse with the Yankees regularly is, and Hal Steinbrenner has said this publicly, is he wants to get under $300 million. dollars.
Mm,
He wants to get under $300 million. dollars. And again, this is what the owner of the team wants. So Ryan, we can do the exercise that you want to do here.
yeah.
And I appreciate what fans want to know. But at some point, this isn't what you want, it's what is. And I think the goal, and I'll be happy to answer any question as best as I can. But I think the goal this offseason is to try to get under $300 million luxury tax money. I think within that, they'd like to re-sign Cody Bellinger, add another reliever who can pitch in the final 6 outs of the game. If that person was left-handed, that would be great. It is very hard to find. I think they'd like to find a complementary starting pitcher to help them through some injuries early in the season. I think they'd love to flip JC Esquera for a righty version of JC Esquera and understand and appreciate, I think they do, that having two left-handed hitting catchers and really three left-hand hitting catchers last year didn't work. And I think they'd like to find a complementary right-handed bat and maybe plus Ahmad Rosario, who they liked a great deal and tried in previous years to get. That all told, I think the Yankees would feel if they got the versions of the players they wanted to, they would feel that's a 90 plus win team and they'd have a shot to line it up and that they could do that in the high 200s. That's my suspicion from, again, it's early in the offseason. They keep their cards close to the vest. So when it comes to um, uh, Tucker and Bellinger, I think they very much would like Bellinger back, even as a exercise in unlimited funds. I'm not sure, and I think there's a lot of teams that feel this way, not just the Yankees. I think Kyle Tucker's going to get a contract that at minimum starts it with a three
Hmm.
and probably begins with a four, as in 400 million something. I think there are teams that even have the money who are, is this really like, are we taking a great complementary player and because he's the best player in a market, wanting to turn him into a leading man? Because I'm not sure even Kyle Tucker, beyond the money, wants to be a leading man. Uh, so I think even if the Yankees were more evergreen financially, you'd hear them in different markets wanting to spend. I'm not sure Tucker is their guy. I think Bellinger is their guy. And by the way, Tucker's a good player. I think I did this on a previous show, and I'll try to do it quickly again. Uh, I think Kyle Tucker lights up the Christmas tree that is uh, a laptop, an analytic laptop, right? He does. One executive who had him on his team at some point, when I try to make a case, the case for me quickly has always been I've covered so many big Yankee Astro series.
Hmm.
And you will leave a Yankee Astro series going, Jose Altuve, man, Cooperstown. Carlos Correa, great. What a player. Yordan Alvarez, Jeremy Pena, George Springer, like Bregman. I don't ever remember leaving a Yankee Astro series, and there's been a lot of big ones over the last 10 years where I went, that thing Kyle Tucker did, I
Mm.
can't get it out of my head. An executive who had him said, you are underappreciating what it means to be good at everything. And sometimes you don't see it, but at the end of the day, he has a single and a stolen base and a walk, and he played good defense, and he's a good base runner, and he could hit left on left, and he sees a lot of pitches. And his point was there's a cumulative thing that does show up in WAR that you're not appreciating. And I would say, even with that, I got it, but that's a co-star. To me, that's a co-star and not a like we have allowed the marketplace like Juan Soto somehow we skipped all the hundreds. We went from like 300 to 700.
700.
So now it feels like, well, what's a lot less than that?
Yeah.
Well, 400. And I'm not exact like Juan Soto to me is a star. Um, Aaron Judge is a
Aaron Judge is
star,
a star.
right? Like there are Bobby Witt Jr. is a star. I don't get star out of Kyle Tucker. So if I had the money, I'm not sure that's the player I'd want
Hmm.
because I just feel like you watch him and he's OG Anunoby. And like that's really good. He's good
Yes.
at everything, right? Like you watch OG Anunoby play and he's good, but he's not a star.
He's not a star, but he's a damn good player that can help
He's
you
a
win a lot of
damn good
games.
player, but within the framework of the NBA, he's not at the top of the payroll. And Kyle Tucker, of course, how free agency works, is about to go to the near the top of the payroll, especially in guaranteed money long term. He's had a couple of injuries. I I'm not here to save Hal Steinbrenner's money. If he told me I could spend it, I'm not sure I would spend it on that player. Like I would more be like, I'll sign Alex Bregman and trade the current third baseman,
Mm.
right? Because I think Bregman is such a great clubhouse guy. Like he brings so much energy and right hand bat, which I think they kind of need. And like, and by the way, I don't think they're doing that from my aggregator idiots out there. Uh, which so I think Bellinger is the key to their offseason. Uh, I don't know if that was long-winded. I don't know if I answered your
No, you
question there,
did. You kind
but
of you
but I
kind of
just
did.
think I think it's going to be kind of like whatever you ask here, Ryan.
Yeah, yeah.
The answer is going to be I think that there's probably a plan B where they say spend more on a different area if they don't get Bellinger.
Okay.
But Bellinger is, I'm buying my significant other five Christmas presents. Here's the big one, and here's the scarf, like tickets to the show we want to see, whatever. You know what I mean? It's like there's the other four gifts,
Yeah.
but there's the gift that I give you at the end with the bow. That's Bellinger.
Yeah, that makes sense, Joel. I think and you did answer the question because you're essentially saying, look, the market for Tucker is going to be so high. It doesn't make sense financially for the Yankees to invest in him. I think Yankees fans are asking themselves again, like if Bellinger does decide to go back to, let's say, the Dodgers or signs with the Mets across town, or he finds another place to go get that big contract and the Yankees don't meet that asking price, is there a possibility they would pivot to a guy like Kyle Tucker? Because you do need to replace that production from Cody Bellinger that you got last year in the outfield. It's a lot.
So I think the other thing is, could Kyle Tucker play center? Maybe.
Mm.
He's a very good defender on the corners. I don't, I've never heard he wants to do it or willingly wants to do it. So if the Yankees signed Tucker, does that mean they also have to re-sign Grisham, who I assume, and again, it's an assumption, I don't know, he's probably going to turn down the qualifying offer. This is his one big shot after the 30 plus homers to do a multi-year contract. Do you want to give three at pick the number to Grisham plus what you do to Tucker? Then you've got to trade at minimum Jasson Dominguez and at maybe Spencer Jones. Uh, if not, who's your center fielder? You don't want to move 34, 35-year-old Aaron Judge back there. Dominguez is in the Dominican Winter League now, working on reps in left field, which is good for him. It's
Which you
something
called.
which I said he was going to do um, to try to get better there. Tucker probably becomes your left fielder. You still need a center fielder. And does that mean you're now in the got to close our eyes and hope that last year wasn't a mirage and sign Trent Grisham for what the market says Trent
Right.
Grisham will bear? That's a double move also
Yep.
that I'm not sure you want to do.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point by you, Joel. If they were to sign a Kyle Tucker.
And let me throw in one other thing, Ryan, just so I hope fans see it's if the Yankees didn't have Giancarlo Stanton,
Mm.
I'd be like, whatever the highest bid is on Kyle Schwarber, you have to be a dollar more. This isn't a I don't particularly love the player at the price it would cost for Kyle for Tucker, the other Kyle. But if you told me, hey, Stanton retired today, he doesn't want to do this anymore, I'd be like, you have to be on the phone and win for Schwarber, who I
Yeah.
think would hit 60 homers in his sleep at Yankee Stadium. Or let's be realistic, he'd hit 50 again. Uh, your clubhouse would always be great because he's such a great leader and he's so serious about the sport. So I I hope it's never misinterpreted as I'm like trying to carry water for the owner. Like here, I'm trying to tell you what I think the owner is trying to do,
Yeah,
and then
you're being realistic, very
and
realistic.
within the frame of I'm not a general manager. I play the 31st on TV here. It's a shitty paying job, but I got to tell you what I think about players I watch all the time
Hmm.
and where I would do it. Like, I think, for example, the Mets should try to sign Bregman and Schwarber and be like, if you think you had clubhouse problems last year, we'll deal with two areas, solidify third base, solidify DH. In that case, letting Alonso walk would not be as problematic, right? Go and get a real defender at first base then, because you just added Schwarber, who will
Hmm.
more than equal that. And so, like, this is not an attempt to
No, no, yeah.
limit the spending of anybody, but it is an attempt to say, here's players I like, and let's be realistic about what Hal Steinbrenner is going to be able to do. And then if you want to call some talk radio and scream about that he's cheap, go do it. But that's going to be like screaming at the rain to stop. It's probably not going to stop it. So, like let's try to like deal with where he's likely taking this.
Yeah, it's the financial parameters that you are reporting that he's most likely going to be operating in, right? And
And
that's the reality of it.
the financial parameters, it feels like every organization except for the Dodgers and Mets perhaps lives under.
Well, I think that's what aggravates a lot of fans, right? Because of everything you laid out before, because of the cachet, the Yankees,
Yep.
George Steinbrenner
I
Yankee,
get it.
the money they pull in, and all that. It's all of that.
But I
So,
covered George, and the idea that George got everybody he went after is a myth also.
but look, it still remains the point though of the Cody Bellinger versus Kyle Tucker. Cody Bellinger will be a much more reasonable, but be it's still gonna be an expensive deal,
Who
a
plays
more
who
reasonable
can who
price.
can if Spencer Jones isn't ready
Hmm.
and you have to assume that the season's going to, even under the best case scenario, you want to start the season with him at AAA, let him prove for 4 or 5 weeks he deserves to be here, then have another conversation. See if Dominguez has grown
Mm,
and if you're comfortable Dominguez, Bellinger, Judge, then it's like, hey, if and when there's an injury, and there probably will be, especially with the DH,
hmm.
right? Like at some point where it's like, okay, now you take those four guys, you move it around with the D, etc. So, um, but yeah, I think center field should not just be it's we do this on the this cast a lot, Ryan, where I always encourage fans go to like Fangraphs, call up center fielders, run your finger down the list of center fielders. Tell me the ones that are available. Tell me the price on those because of supply and demand.
Yeah.
Like it's one of the things that's going to knock Bellinger's price up.
Yeah.
It is there's not a lot of people you go, man, I really wish that guy roamed center field for me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not a large market out there for center fielders. I do I am interested though if the Yankees ever were to inquire. It's not unfortunate because Giancarlo Stanton is still a heck of a baseball player, and I think he had an incredible regular season. Got cold in the postseason, but Kyle Schwarber would be incredible, especially as a leadoff in front of Judge there for the Yankees, who desperately need a leadoff
Any
bat
any
too.
any place in the top four, it works. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the Yankees are hoping that they have an 80 to 90% version of Schwarber and Ben Rice, who
Mm,
might also play first base. I think that that he fits like that profile. Like I I think on the show last year, and maybe you looked at me crazy. I said, I think the Yankees think he's the fifth place hitter for a long time, right? I think I said that on the
yeah.
show before he did it. I said they love the underlying numbers and they love the player and the makeup. And I think they think he's going to work his ass off to try to be like major league average at first base this offseason. And I think they think that there's still even a little more untapped power there. And they think that's 35 plus. And if it's 35 plus with that profile, it's 85% of Schwarber,
Yeah.
right? It's probably going to be like 250, 240, 250, 25% strikeout rate, like with Schwarber, walks, like a 10% walk rate, and lots of power.
Mm,
A guy who seems a little like Schwarber, also not afraid to play in a big moment,
no.
which is
And
always incredibly valuable. So, like, will Ben Rice get there, or will there? We've seen an awful lot of young Yankee players regress over the years, and he's going to have a prominent role going into spring training because they might try to find somebody who hits right-handed to play some at first base, but I think the plan right now is Ben Rice is the first baseman of the Yankees.
well, to summarize point one and question one from Joel, he thinks the Yankees are more in tune with the Cody Bellinger part of this. Kyle Tucker just doesn't make sense in that at that price range. That brings me to question two, which you just brought up with Ben Rice. So look, Ben Rice right now is the only first baseman on this roster right now. And like you said, if they can get similar production like they did last year out of him, that's a literal, no pun intended, but that's a home run for them. And I think Cashman's also hoping that Ben Rice can develop and take that next step and prove he's not just this flash in the pan young player again, because it hasn't worked out like you said with a lot of the young players that come up here and have one great year and then just all of a sudden fizzle out and they don't have sustainable success. So do you think that's the right move for the Yankees to bank on Ben Rice being the everyday first baseman, or is this going to be more of a platoon opportunity for him? Because I'm sure he's going to get some DH run with Stanton not playing every day at DH. And you have to put Judge in there factor as well. So how do they address the first base position with Ben Rice and whatever else is out there?
Yeah, I think they need to find a right hand complement for him. Um, I do think they're going to be out there on the tightrope because I think that until the July market, probably, if Ben Rice is sitting on May 15th, hitting 165 with 3 homers and striking out 35% of the time, they better have stashed somebody at AAA who can at least be slightly below major league average. Uh, because I think that this is the plan. They believe in the player. um, and they're going to go for it. And I think they're going to a large extent, give him a shot to show, and I would use Schwarber as the example, that like Schwarber does a lot of damage against left-hand pitching. I think he was by far the highest left-on-left homer guy last year. Uh, and they'll be like, we can live with a 212 batting average against lefty pitchers if it's a 470 slugging percentage against lefty pitchers. And I think he's going to get some run to prove that he is a everyday player against whoever starts.
Mm.
Now, the day Garrett Crochet shows up in the Bronx, you probably want to have a right-hand hitter who you could put at first base. But um, I think this is Ben Rice's job. I think this is Ben Rice's job. And I'll say that kid does not lack confidence that he's going to be good at it.
Yeah, and I wonder, Joel, do you trust Ben Rice defensively every day at, playing that position?
So uh, I don't love it.
Mm.
I would note that the World Series was played between Vladimir Guerrero and Freddie Freeman, and that those two guys are brilliant first basemen and just really great all around baseball players,
Yeah.
base runners and hitters and power hitters. They're terrific. And I think we're used to seeing I think the Mets are going through this with Alonso, which is it is so hard in this atmosphere when bats are so hard to find. Are you really going to let the all-time home run hitter on your team leave not at the end? He broke the team record in arguably his best offensive season, or one of the two or three best. I mean, he's a really good offensive player, Pete Alonso. But if you're the general manager and you use the word run prevention 7 times in the first 12 minutes of your season-ending press conference, are you telling us something? And I think the Mets are going through this because, like I would even say the Final Four. Josh Naylor, who is a free agent, is a really good first baseman. The Brewers, whoever they put at first base, is generally a good first baseman. So the Final Four, like, obviously they're there for many more reasons than who plays first base.
Right.
But I think we always think of, oh, you could put your clod at first base.
Mm.
And I always encourage people and say, watch who touches the ball besides the catcher the most in this game. Like there's a lot of throws. There's across the diamond. Second, short, third. There's back picks from the catcher. You got to be athletic and get there. You got to the ability for the first baseman to get at least the 3-6 force out at second, not to mention the 3-6-3 double play, which both Freeman and Guerrero are brilliant at.
Yeah.
Brilliant. You save pitches from your pitcher. You remove runners from the bases. Like the ability to do that is great. I think Ben Rice will work at it. I think he's a worker. And I've brought it up a few times in a few places. I don't think I've ever done it here. And I'll say this. The Dodgers are the Dodgers for a ton of reasons. I've been with them to the end now these last 2 years, which means I've been late in October when the workload has been the greatest and guys are tired. 4.5 hours before every game, Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts are on the field. Those two guys are going to Cooperstown. And they're going to Cooperstown for a lot of reasons, but namely because Freddie Freeman's probably going to have 3,000 hits. And Mookie Betts is this brilliant, brilliant player. They're brilliant. They are on the field working on their defense before batting practice every day. These are players in their 30s, in Freeman's case, now deep into his 30s, right? 35, 36, wherever Freddie's at. And those guys set this example for that entire team about how they're going to work and how they're going to pay attention to detail. And I'll never forget, as a very young reporter, Tom Kelly, the longtime manager of the Twins, who won World Series in 87 and 91, he was very nice to a young reporter. Why, I don't know, but he was very nice to me. And he said something to me once like, Joel, you know why I have the easiest job in baseball? I said, no, why, Tom? And he said, because Kirby Puckett's my best player and Kirby Puckett's my hardest worker. And he said, you've got to be a real asshole, like, and not work hard on our team if the guy who's the best player is working the hardest and paying attention to detail. Like that becomes who you are. And therefore, Can Ben Rice ever become a gold glove? No. Can Ben Rice, who kind of made himself into a passable catcher, make himself into an average first baseman? I think he could be major league average. And if he's major league average and is 85% of Kyle Schwarber for pre-arbitration prices, that's what allows you to A, win a lot of games, but then afford the next thing.
Right.
So I think it's a big issue for them.
Yeah, no, it is because it's
And
also
that he's really good at this because, again, to your point, Stanton is got this year and next year before his contract is done. And when he's healthy, he's going to be the DH.
Mhm.
And so there's no place to hide. It's again, to go back, it's the Met problem. If you were allowed to play two DHs at a time and the Mets could convince Soto and Alonso to both DH, this would be an easy decision for Steve Coney. Go, where do I write the check? I want
Yeah.
them both in my order. But the ball is put in play. And one of the reasons the Blue Jays came within a breath of winning the World Series, a breath, is they are really good on defense.
Yeah.
I mean, when the ball gets hit, they convert it into outs. And I know what we love is the glitz of, and you better have it in this age where it's hard to hit, but you can't completely ignore the defense. And and we saw we'll remember Miguel Rojas's homer to win the World Series. I'll remember him coming off the bench for the last two games and making like five unbelievable defensive plays.
Yeah.
You know who he reminded me of? I hope we have old Yankee fans on the cast. He reminds me of Luis Soho. Luis Soho could go like a month not playing. And trust me, he went a month because those Yankee teams, Joe Torre wrote the same guys in the lineup every day. He wrote the same guys, and then suddenly it would be maybe a tough day game after a night game, or somebody had a little twist or turn, and he tapped Luis Soho, who never looked in shape, who looked kind of saggy and whatever, and he just had the greatest hands, and he had the greatest hands a month after not playing a major league games, and then he'd go up and somebody throw 95, and he'd go pop it to right field, and you'd be like, ask Derek if you ever have a chance, like if Derek Jeter's around you, go Luis Soho. What do you think? He'd go, I can't explain it. It's so hard to hit. And he'd just wake up and go out there and be able to hit a ball. He hadn't hit in a game in a month. And I thought that was impressive by Rojas. He didn't have a hit in a month. He hadn't started a game in 26 days before he started. And he made brilliant defensive plays besides hitting the home run.
Some guys have gifted capabilities like that, Joel.
And by the way, if he doesn't make the defensive plays, especially the infield in play against Isaiah kind of Falefa, they don't win the World Series. Like there's a whole bunch of things. So I just in this day and age, you got to be careful about the offense only player as
Mhm.
much as you need the offense in a highly pitching time. God, I said that stilted.
Well, look, the reason why to get is a difficult thing to discuss with Ben Rice too about the first base part is you're banking on a guy like Austin Wells having a bounce back year because we have to talk about that catcher position, how that is affected by the Ben Rice playing first base every day. Is you do have three left-handed catchers technically if you wanted to keep Ben Rice somewhat in that part of being able to catch as well. You're banking on Austin Wells to be able to not only be a good receiver like he was, last year as a catcher and receiving the ball well and framing well and calling the game with the pitchers,
Throwing okay.
throwing okay too, right? But like you need him to be able to hit, right? Like you need him to be a part of that bottom of the lineup and give you somewhat better production. So I guess my question is it okay to rely on Escara and Wells as your two catchers? Or do you think about maybe potentially moving Ben Rice as a catcher full time? I don't know. Like, could you go with another first base option? Like, there's definitely some flexibility there if you wanted to go a different route.
I think it's such a great question, Ryan. I think it's the thing about this is again, we're at a very early point. I bet you that one of the things when and if Brian Cashman talks is I wouldn't be surprised if he defines Rice's role
Mm,
more definitively. And I think because what you are going to ask him to play first base a ton, I think you should say to him, you are a first baseman and an emergency catcher.
yep.
Like if you want to do a little training catching, fine, but like put your time and effort into becoming major league average at first. Catching has never been more difficult than it is now, mentally and physically. Physically, the ball has never been thrown harder with more movement by different shapes and sizes of the pitchers and the pitch is, right? So it's physically hard to catch. And mentally, like came up in a game where it'd be like, oh, we're playing the Orioles. You want to go up and in and down and away. On who? On the Orioles, the lineup. Now it's like the first time around with Gunnar Henderson, here's what we want to do. Here's his red zones, his cool zones, the whole thing. Here's what we'd like to do with Jackson Holiday. And so mentally, I think the game is tougher. I think it's really affected Austin Wells' offense, the burden of it. And so I would take Ben Rice and go, you're the first baseman, and take that off. I think they will probably do that. And again, that's more reporting and hunch. Little reporting, bigger hunch that he has such a burden to become a good first baseman and hit fifth, probably. That's what will happen. I think that they know they got a little too left-handed, unbelievably, after so many years last year. And if they could find the right, I know that this is one of the ones where Yankee fans might go, really? I think that JC Esquerra is liked in the industry. Not where you get a big return, but where I think you could probably turn JC Esquerra into the right-hand hitting version of JC Esquerra. Like for a team that's like, oh, we have right-hand hitting catcher X. We'd like his backup, who's going to start 55 games, to be a left-hand hitter. We kind of like that profile of JC Esquerra. Good bat to ball, exit velocity, whatever lit up the Christmas tree in the past about this player. And so I think the Yankees probably can turn him into the right-handed version of him.
Okay.
My again, suspicion as
Suspicion, yeah.
opposed to fact. And that's one of the ways they do it. But Ryan, one of the themes of these casts right up to opening day last year, and I think maybe even a little further, was the Yankees are kind of beholden to Dominguez, Volpe, Rice, and Wells. And I think we could start it again. Because if the goal is to be 275, 280 million, and win 90 plus games, those guys, or the majority of those guys, have to be good players.
Yeah.
And I think the Yankees would argue that Rice was a very good player last year. Wells did the most important thing a catcher could do, which is catch well and hit home runs. And they feel like there's probably untapped offense in there, especially batting average,
Hmm.
that he could get to. I know how polarizing Volpe is. I believe he's going, when he's healthy, he's going to be the shortstop again. They're not going to go get another shortstop in this market. Well, they might get a secondary complimentary
Right.
guy to work with Caballero, but I think Volpe's going to do it. And the one that I'm not positive about is Dominguez,
Hmm.
because I think let's say Trent Grisham does take the qualifying offer and they re-sign Bellinger. I think that they probably feel they can trade Grisham in that situation. Another reason why he probably doesn't take the qualifying offer. It's like, hey, I'm coming back to play for you, or I'm not coming back. But in that situation, so if you're locked into, again, Judge Grisham, Bellinger, then does Dominguez become a trade chip? Or did his value slip last year and you want him to play some more? I think that there's a 20 homer, 25 steal guy in Dominguez. Um, I think he handled his benching incredibly well for a 22-year-old last year. And I think I might have done this on the show before. If I did, I'm sorry, but I'll point it out again. And I think it's a real check mark for Ahmad Rosario, but it's a specific check mark I'd give to Dominguez also. Rosario is one of those guys. If you showed up 3.5, 4 hours before the game, he goes out on the field almost every day to do something. He's a, I knew him when he was a kid with the Mets. Like he's turned into a really good veteran presence guy, besides having a real skill to hit left-handed and handle second and third well, and maybe even go to the outfield if you need him. I would dare say he should work some at first base this offseason. Because if the Yankees going to re-sign him, maybe he's that guy, like to do it. But if you were there late in the year, Dominguez isn't playing. He was like a puppy dog at 3.5, 4 hours before the game. Rosario, just where good leadership matters, following Rosario on the field to do extra work every day. And so, my suspicion is that Dominguez's baseball instincts are not great and that it will be hard for him to get much better. On the other hand, did not have a ton of reps as an amateur. He did not have a ton of reps, COVID included and injury included, in the minor leagues. He is doing the right thing this offseason by going and playing winter ball to try to get as many reps in left field and hitting right-handed as possible. Can he Ben Rice it and be major league average in a corner outfield position? Major
Mm.
league average. He certainly has the athleticism to do it. And do the Yankees not want to give up on him before seeing a guy get more reps who's 22? 20, he's going to play 23 next year, right? Dominguez. So I I think, Ryan, one of the themes when we do shows between now and the first pitch of the 2026 season, which will be honest, quicker than you think, because the offseason always goes way too fast. And is they need these young guys, and maybe we'll include the name Spencer Jones in it. We'll probably include the name Cam Schlittler in it. That what we saw last year needs to be real. That that they need Will Warren to again be a workhorse, probably, and that they probably need somebody from Carlos Lagrange and Elmer Cruz Rodriguez,
Yeah.
one or both of them at some point, to be something Schlittler like during the course of the season. They are a team that's going to need their feeder system, which I know Yankee fans think is bad, isn't, like actually produces players at a pretty good rate comparatively, especially when you don't draft at the very top of the draft. Everything is by comparison and by reality. They need that feeder system to again do a good job because it isn't going to be a Dodger or Steve Cohen situation financially. It will offer a lot, but I think there's not a 0% chance that more likely the Blue Jays, but maybe the Red Sox payroll is very, very similar to the Yankees by the end of this offseason.
Hmm. That's interesting stuff, Joel. And that brings me to the third
And I wouldn't
question.
be surprised if Kyle Tucker was a Blue Jay, which will really piss off Yankee fans.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're seeing the rest of the market. We're the rumor mill is churning that the rest of the AL East is going to be aggressive, but we're seeing
I
that the
do.
Yankees just
I don't know about the Rays, but I think that
well, the Red Sox and the
The
Orioles.
Orioles are going to spend more than they traditionally spend, or at least attempt to spend more than they traditionally spend this offseason. I think the Red Sox aren't going to just talk about it this offseason. I think they're going to do everything possible to get a right-hand power bat. If that guy plays first base, I don't think it's going to be Alonso, though. It would be fascinating to see him with the Green Monster. But I think they really value. They have been a bad defensive team for a while. They got out of Devers. I'm not sure they want. I think they'd like, if in a perfect world, a right-hand hitter who can really field that position. Again, good luck finding that
Yeah.
in the marketplace. And a kind of high-end starting pitcher to be number two behind Crochet. I think that's what the Red Sox are looking to do this offseason. Uh, um, but I think that the Blue Jays are going to be very aggressive. I think the Red Sox are going to be aggressive. And I think the Orioles, within the parameters that they'll live under, are going to be more aggressive than normal. And we'll see what a new owner in Tampa does, which I think will be spend some, but it's still going to be
Well,
what?
it's funny you say those teams are going to be aggressive, but we're talking about what exactly the Yankees are going to be doing. So I think one of the things you just highlighted was they need the young infusion of talent to take a step forward because it doesn't seem like they're going to be as aggressive in the free agent market. But I do want to ask you about this outfield, like you just highlighted. Let's say in this world here that I'm laying out for this next question, Judge isn't right. They re-sign Bellinger and Grisham does not come back. He doesn't take the qualifying offer and he ends up signing a deal somewhere else. That leaves Spencer Jones and Jasson Dominguez there. Do you see both of those guys playing significant amount of time in the outfield for the Yankees in that type of scenario?
Not to begin the season. I think what would happen in the scenario you just laid out is the Yankees would then, uh, through either free agency or trade, try to acquire a right-hand hitting outfielder who has the ability to play center field.
Mm,
Because I think that in the best case scenario, Bellinger wouldn't have to do it every day.
right.
Um, and they will probably, again, like to see Dominguez hit against lefty pitching before they decide that that righty hitter will play every day time against lefties for Dominguez. Again, if that's the lineup, if Dominguez doesn't get traded, etc., and it's Dominguez, Bellinger, Judge, I think they try to find another right-hand hitter. A year ago, like I'll give a name again, aggregators. I'm giving a name from who I liked a year ago. This guy had a terrible season. Can I say something about the aggregation?
Go ahead.
Because it caused some consternation. You know me. I'm not online in the way that people are online.
Hmm.
So I find out things because they have to swell or whatever. We did a show, and whether people know it or not, you and I don't really plan the shows.
No.
I think the shows are better. If I'm good at what I do, hopefully you think I'm good at what I do. I've been working and talking to lots of teams, and I'm really digging down on the Yankees at bats. That's my job. Hopefully I'm good at it. And if I can't answer your questions, the post should get somebody else. Like that's how I feel about it.
Stop selling yourself off the show. I don't want you gone off the
Yeah.
show,
Yeah.
Joel.
But like, you know what I mean? Is like that
Yeah.
that's how I feel is I'm thinking about the Mets all the time, I'm thinking about the Yankees all the time, I'm thinking about the whole sport all the time. And like I think the show is better where we don't overthink it.
Hmm.
And you represent the fan base and kind of like come in. You asked me I think it was the last show we did about Harper. And I said, maybe this isn't verbatim, but you hit me. I wasn't prepared for Bryce Harper. We had never talked about it.
Yeah, no.
And one of the things I actually said was, you said, would you do him for the Yankees? I explained why I didn't think it would work for the Yankees. But then you said, you said, do you think he'll be traded? And I said, well, I wouldn't say anybody's 100% not to be traded. So
Right.
who knows? And that was it.
That was it.
That was it. That was literally what I
I
said.
know.
Somehow that got picked up as MLB Insider says Harper available for trades
It's nuts.
to the point where I saw Dave Dombrowski, the head of the Phillies yesterday, who I hadn't seen for a while.
Yeah.
And again, Ryan, I think you've gotten to know me over the years. So better or worse, I don't go that way when there's a problem. I've done this business in this business a long time. Your reputation means everything. So I went up to him and I essentially said, Dave, I think I caused you some problems. And he said, yes. And I said, did you listen to what I said and not read what an aggregator said what I said? And he said, no. And I said, so I told him, this is what I actually said. And then one aggregator does this. And then the next aggregator tops it, but never goes back and listens
Nope.
to what was said. We had not prepared a show.
Nope.
You hit me with Harper. The majority of it was like, if he was available, why I think he's a problematic guy to be acquired, his age, his maybe decline, his concern about his contract,
Yeah. The
etc.
contract was the big part you hit on that
Yeah.
you were
But
not a fan of.
all I said was like I might say about 99% of players, like, would I be surprised if a player got traded? You name the player, I'd be like, well, I mean, I guess anybody could be traded. And essentially, that's what I said about Bryce Harper.
Hmm.
I didn't say he would be traded. I didn't say I hear he's going to be traded. I didn't say I think they should trade him. I'm not even sure that like I use trade in as a verb in a sentence, right? So anyway, this is why I'm so chagrined to talk about things because it's like I stay out of that world
Hmm.
because it bothers me so much. But like in this one, it landed in my apartment. I'm dealing with this thing. Then I hear secondhand, like Harper then says, well, they're talking about me being traded. And I'm like, this is wag the dog crazy time.
It's crazy out there,
Like,
Joel.
so anyway, so I'm always like worried now about saying, here's an example of a player I think they should be interested in that then gets turned into Yankees interested in or Yankees pursuing. Like they love that verb too.
Hmm.
Like Yankees pursuing. No,
Nope. This is Joel
30,
saying
I'm
what
the
he would do.
31st GM.
Yep.
And if I ran the zoo, here's some things I do. So a year ago, to me, the perfect player would have been like Lane Thomas,
Yeah.
who's a right-hand hitter, very good against lefty pitching, has some postseason experience, can move around the outfield, good base runner, can handle center field adequately. He had a lot of plantar fasciitis problems this year, and his performance went way down. He is a free agent this offseason. I don't know what is like, but if not him, a player like him. But again, I encourage people go run your finger down what that would be because I think they need a right-hand hitting outfielder
Yeah.
to cover center field. Um,
Harrison Bader?
but Harrison Bader in this like I'm not good that this will definitely get aggregated, so I won't do it. Is I've been surprised what people think the number will be for him.
For like, would you think it's like a 1 year deal or you think it's maybe
No,
like
that's
multiple
the thing.
years?
And I'm not even sure in some situations it's 2 years.
Yeah.
Like this is a supply demand issue.
Mm.
We're standing here struggling to come up with who can fill this when he is still a relatively 30-ish, not 35 player. He has a defensive component. He can play center field, though I think he's aged out of being a really top flight center fielder. He's, I think, an outstanding corner. And he's in a different age when there was a lot of offense in the sport. He might be a 3.5 outfielder. But in this sport, I don't think you'll name 30 to 40 outfielders you'd want more. And so you're not going to get him for fourth outfielder prices or even
Gotcha.
outfielder prices in this marketplace. I threw him out because I think the Mets need a center fielder too.
Yeah.
Both New York teams need a center fielder. And I've thrown him out to executives here. And I've been like, really? And so I think he's going to do well.
Okay.
I also think he's going to see like in the we were talking about this with Grisham. You don't get too many bites at the apple where you're desired, right?
Yep.
If Grisham, if the Yankees non-tender Trent Grisham last offseason, he gets like a 1 year, $5 to $8 million contract someplace. A year later, and this is the thing where it's like a year ago, we're wondering if we should non-tender you. Now, are you really a $75 million player? Should we believe in all this? You know, a year ago, Harrison Bader is fighting to get a 1 year, 5 million-ish contract.
Yeah.
A year later, is it two at fill in the blank?
Mm.
Maybe, but but for the Yankees, unless you don't sign Bellinger and he is your starting center fielder,
Yeah.
then you might have to pay the 2 or 3 years for it. Though I think he's not, he's a lot of injury in his profile, and he's got a lot of not top flight player in his profile. And so he's a real step down. I really think it's one of the reasons Bellinger's going to get paid someplace, maybe with the Yankees, because it's just supply and demand.
Yep. And that's raises the cost of the player if
Yep.
there's not that much supply for that player or that player profile that you're looking for. All right, so that was question 3 about Dominguez and Jones if they could be potentially in the outfield. Question 4, Joel, for this 5 burning questions for the Yankees hot stove season. Devin Williams and Luke Weaver, both guys free agents. Edwin Diaz, also a free agent out there. The Yankees only have David Bednar and Tim Hill, guys you could rely on in the bullpen right now in those late innings, you could argue. And we know Loaizaga is gone too. And this has put the Yankees bullpen in question of how are they going to address this. Now, I know you're probably going to say, Ryan, they have found bullpen pieces in any sort of way, guys that you would never even expect to be high leverage guys that turn out to be high leverage guys. Are the Yankees going to be aggressive in the reliever market for 1 or 2 relievers to put there behind Bednar to really fortify it?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're skimping on Duvall is a guy who's pitched late in ball games, and Fernando Cruz is very trusted by the manager, and he pitched late in games. He was one of the best strikeout pitchers in baseball. I think they begin this with four guys they believe in.
Okay.
My suspicion is, again, not knowing anything for sure, but I'm not exactly sure they're going to tender Mark Leiter Jr. a contract. I would suspect that they open up that money. I'm curious if they think Jake Cousins is going to come back from his elbow surgery and be a part of this. So I do think they're going to address the bullpen either through free agency or trades. I think they're going to add at least one guy. If you told me they didn't sign Bellinger, I still think they probably don't go to the top of the market for Diaz
Mm.
because I think that they've had chagrin about being at the top of the market with like Chapman and Britton. And they feel like it's not so I think let's again use I try to make this dispassionate for Yankee fans a little, and the other team I cover all the time is the Mets, right? If you sat David Stearns down and said, philosophically, walk me through things you believe, I think he'd say, you really have to save your big money for starting pitching, catching, shortstop, center field, and guys who hit the ball out of the ballpark with a high consistency. And even then, that last part, he'd be like, but I'd love if they could really defend and third base. And third base. Don't get caught up spending a lot of money on relief pitchers, corner outfielders, and first base and DH. Like I think there's no absolutes in the game. That guy gave $765 million to Juan Soto.
Yep.
But I would say that Juan Soto is a generational player. Like he's among the five most productive 26 and younger players in the history of the game. So I guess if that comes along at another position, you do it. I think if money is an issue, you you operate in an analytic era, you don't overspend money in those areas. And so I think the Yankees won't do that because they really did get pretty good closing from Clay Holmes for a long time, who they found at the margins in a trade, from Luke Weaver for a while, who they literally found on waivers,
Mm.
right? From David Bednar, who they made a trade for and isn't making a ton of money. And I think that they don't think this is the area to apply the money. Now, again, if they miss out on Bellinger, could I see a different plan B? Maybe. I actually think if you told me the Mets could only sign Diaz or Alonso, I think they have to sign Diaz. Because if you think the Yankees are starting short shrift in the bullpen, and I think they're starting with four pretty good arms in the bullpen, the Mets are starting with, help me here, Brooks Raley.
Brooks or Haley. Um,
Who else?
Minter.
Minter might not start the season on time.
Right. He might not start on time,
But I mean,
uh,
he's good. Okay, so
he's
I'll give you,
good. He's good.
they got the two lefties locked out.
Yeah.
The next guys, help me here. Right.
Uh,
No, you're not missing anyone. So like if you told me that you had more unlimited funds and you were starting with Brooks Raley and crossing your fingers on AJ Minter, I would make sure I'd sign Edwin Diaz if I were the Mets.
yeah.
Like I feel like that's almost a priority for them. If you told me like what's your priority list, him and Alonso, and I'm not saying don't sign Alonso. It's Steve Cohen. Do whatever the hell you want. Uh, but I actually, if you told me I only could sign one, I feel like I could find something that puts first base together, especially if you use the whole player and say, there's going to be a little less offense, but we're going to really lock down the position. I think you can do that. I think that can be found in the marketplace. Uh, I think the Yankees will add no less than a reliever and probably be very active in that 6-year minor league free agent, smaller player market where they seem to find a guy or two
Gotcha.
over the years and hope they find the next Tim Hill, the next Jake Cousins, the next Ian Hamilton, the next Clay Holmes,
Clay
like
Holmes. Yeah.
that they've done over the years. But if you told me they did something smaller for someone they like, why is the guy the again, I have no idea if they're interested in this player. Zero if they're interested in the player. But if you told me they spent two at 20-ish, something like that, on Brad Keller, who just had a very good year for the Cubs. And again, I use him because I've talked to enough executives to know he lights up the Christmas tree. Whatever it is that this group of people like, shape, movement, velocity, whatever it is, he's going to have a big, he'll be a guy, he's going to sign. Maybe it will be for 3 years because of it, where people are going to go, wait, Brad Keller got what? And I think that they're much more willing to do that. I
Okay.
don't think it's impossible that that's going to be a number in generally the Luke Weaver area where they feel like if they really believe that the late season problems were full on tipping
Hmm.
and they're like, we know Luke can play here. And that number is a number that shoehorns into our desires. I don't think it's impossible he comes back, right? So I think they're going to be more in that bucket where it's like a guy who they like on the numbers. But I mean, Diaz is probably going to does he get less than 4 at 80? I feel like that's a baseline for him.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, he's a, and I love the player. And if you deal with Edwin Diaz in the clubhouse, like I hope he comes back.
Yeah.
Good to deal with. Like, so,
He's
but
electric stuff. Electric stuff.
but it is, he's like he's in his 30s
Yeah.
now. He's a high velocity guy. What happens if he loses a mile or two during the contract? At most, it's 60 innings. You're paying 20 million plus a year for 60 innings. Now it's 60 incredible innings. And if you don't have it, you really don't have it. It's like having a bad field goal kicker. Like suddenly you got to win the game with the 44-yard field goal with 3 seconds left, and you go, shit, we hate that guy. You know? So
But
I
Devin
feel
Williams, Joel.
but I feel very much, yeah, and I think Devin Williams will sign someplace else.
Oh, you don't think he's coming back? Yeah.
Oh I I I don't think that this is a marriage that really worked.
Oh, so you weren't a believer in the late whatever
I,
talk you
well,
want to talk
I
about
think
him
Devin
liking New
Williams
York
is a
more?
I think Devin Williams is a good relief pitcher. Actually better than that. I don't think that this was like a comfortable marriage all year. And I'm just like, they they'll be like, yeah. And I think some of these failed relievers this year, like him and Helsley, for
Hmm.
example, I think we're gonna go, wait, the guy who sucked for the Mets just got what in the free agent market?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Because the like one of the things, if you like say read like Saris does this a lot on the
Hmm.
Athletic, like the stuff plus, which a lot of front office like Ryan Helsley is a stuff plus guy.
Yeah.
And so everyone's going to be like, oh, I could explain. He was tipping with the Mets. We shouldn't put him in a big market like New York. But here in fill in the blank with a lot less population and fewer reporters covering it, look at this stuff plus. It's going to be whatever. And I think he's going to get a good enough. I mean, I don't think he's going to get what he would have gotten a year ago. Again, this is like the perception we were talking about. Trent Grisham a year ago gets this. Today he gets this. Ryan Helsley and Devin Williams, if they're free agents after last season, like we're talking about and that's a little bit of the danger. It's the most volatile job on the field.
Yeah.
And that's another reasons why most front offices don't want to give that kind of money. Now, I think Edwin Diaz has probably shown he's resistant to the volatility. That when he's healthy, he's just going to be good. But for how long? And it's 60 innings. It's like how as great as your field goal kicker is, he doesn't make more. Like I was talking about the positions on the baseball field: catcher, starting pitcher, center field, shortstop. You know, cornerback, lockdown cornerback, pass rushing defensive end, great elite receiver, quarterback. Obviously, like that's where you got to spend your big money. And I think most teams are like that version of that in baseball doesn't include closer. Closer is your field goal kicker.
Yep.
Like you want to spend a good amount to make sure you get a guy who could kick the field goal. But as we also see, like those guys, there's a handful of those guys who are good every year. And then there's guys who hit 87% one year and then suddenly are missing all the extra
Yeah.
points.
Yeah.
And so, like, I think that there's a similarity to those jobs.
Yeah, look, I mean, the reason why I ask about the bullpen is because, and I hear you on the four guys that you may, they feel comfortable with. It's also you're asking for David Bednar to now be the full-time closer again next year. And
But
it's
he
like, oh,
was good.
he was good. No, but again, there's always the possibility of now it's full-time. You're taking on that role with the Yankees. And we know how they've abused closers in the past where they go to them early and often and they'll get asking for more than 3 outs. So I just wonder the workload on Bednar. Do you want to fortify that position? Because this goes us to our fifth and final question, Joel Sherman, the starting rotation. There is a lot of question marks around the starting rotation. And I wonder if one way to pivot about the Yankees offseason is if they do address the bullpen and fortify that even further, you make that starting rotation question marks a little less worrisome. But at the end of the day, Garrett Cole's coming off Tommy John. Clark Schmidt's coming off Tommy John. We're not going to see him till late in the year. Carlos Rodon, we found out, is getting surgery, so he's going to be out for like a month or so. And let's not forget, Max Fried stayed completely healthy, which is not the norm for him as of late. And you're asking him at age 32 or 31, I believe, to go healthy for the entire year again, be your ace again. And then you're asking for Cam Schlittler to prove that the playoffs you know, wasn't a farce and that this is going to be reality here for him this year. So, and Luis Hill, we have no idea what could be. And Will Warren was really, really great for 33 starts. And I read your Sports Plus piece. It was awesome laying this all out. How aggressive should they be?
NYPost.com.
NYPost.com. Go to Post Sports Plus.
I'll put my
Subscribe.
kids through college. Come on, man.
That's
Do
right.
it.
That's right. PostSportsPlus.com. Hit it
Subscribe
up.
here. Go read there. Come on.
Lots
We
of
can.
great information there from Joel Sherman.
So you kind of hit the thing is, and I recommended in that piece again. If I was the 31st GM or Brian Cashman asked my opinion, which he won't, and I do think they're going to add a starter.
Okay.
I kind of my gut feeling is they're not going to add the kind of starter I would add if I were them.
Mm,
Right? I think they're going to add a swingman starter who kind of covers, but could go to the pen if they get healthy. Ryan, I was wrong about this last year. I got to admit it. Is I spent a lot of time on this cast talking about what worried me the most about the Yankees was the starting rotation.
yeah.
Because it was so thin and fragile and was always one more 3-week injury even away from they might fall out of the playoffs if they
Right.
got the wrong injury here at the wrong time. And they have a scenario where they could end up with a lot of starting pitching next year. But that is one of the great fallacies of the world is that it's all going to get healthy and kind of come together at the right time. Uh, when I've talked to Yankee people, they consistently say that Garrett Cole has hit all his benchmarks. And if I gambled, which I don't, and you said, would you gamble on Garrett Cole getting back in 14 months or less or more? I would probably say less, right?
Okay.
That's like mid-May.
Okay.
Now, he had surgery, I think it was March 11th. So this would be like May 11th would be
Mm-hmm.
14 months. Would you go for 14 months or less? I kind of believe in the guy. I believe in the guy knowing his body. I believe in the guy's work ethic. I believe in his ambitions to get to the Hall of Fame and be a historic pitcher. Uh, and so I would. But I think I would say many very positive things about Shane Bieber, who had surgery in April of 2024 and did not pitch in a major league game until late August of this year. Like these are fingerprints. They are not, hey, you have Tommy John surgery and you could return. The word on Tommy John surgery now is if you talk to people in the game, they say you start at 12 months. Everyone's going to get 12 months. Whether you do the internal brace, whatever the procedure. And then it's what else do you need beyond 12 months?
Mm.
So that's a thing. Maybe Garrett Cole needs 13 months and he will return. And then the question is, how, like, return to what? He might not be his full self until 2027. Like, because velocity might come back, but feel or something might not. So you have that. Rodon had loose bodies removed from his elbow. Again, I think the target date is about May 1st for him. Will he? I don't know, but you're going to begin the season down those two guys. You know, a season after Fried threw the most innings of his career and will pitch at, I think, 32 next year. After Schlittler and Warren threw the most innings of their professional life, especially Warren went way beyond it. Luis Hill is like a human injury waiting to happen in his career and did not finish the season well. Like, you know, you could still believe in Luis Hill. So That's the kind of like group. And I think they feel that Carlos Lagrange and Elma Cruz Rodriguez have a chance to be Schlittler-like and join. But that's a June, July, August
Yeah,
thing. They
that's
are going to
banking on a
start the
lot there.
season at the end of March. And I think they're talking about Clark Schmidt second half next year, say like, so let's say August 1st. Again, good luck. That's like 14 months out from surgery, 13, 14 months. We'll see. And I just think in this area, vibe last year where it was like, well, Stroman never worked and Cole missed the whole year and Hill missed 4 months and they just had a lot of shit go right.
Yeah.
Warren, who I thought was one of their most valuable players by just making 33 starts, which was tied for the American League lead. Just and in probably 25, 26 of them handed the ball to Boone with a chance for the Yankees to win. Like that was incredibly valuable because if not him, who? Schlittler, I mean, you mentioned the playoffs. Schlittler was a high-end starter from the moment he kind of showed up to the end of the season. Like you want to believe in that again, great. Rodon made like 33 starts last year also. Like they kind of like the amount of starts they got from Fried, Rodon, and Warren, the gift of Schlittler, and getting Hill back kind of just in time allowed them to kind of save their season. They did not trade for a starting pitcher in the market at the trade deadline. I think that they've got to go and get a starting pitcher,
Yeah.
not a Ryan Yarbrough,
No.
not a swing guy. The guy who would be perfect for them, again, aggregator schmucks. Don't. I won't stop you. But like Clay Holmes is almost a perfect guy for them, if you think about it, because we just watched him pitch a whole season
Yep.
and be above average as a major league starter at 160 innings. But if everybody came back, which they won't, but if it did, if they had the pitching miracle, and Cole got healthy by May 1st, and Rodon was healthy by May 1st, and Schmidt came, and Elma Cruz Rodriguez was great, and they have to maybe figure out and whatever.
Cam Schlittler stays healthy and is an ace, and
Right,
Max
right,
Fried
right,
stays healthy all
right.
throughout the
Like they
year.
all, it all works. Well, you've seen proof of concept because Clay Holmes was a terrific relief pitcher here, so you
Yeah.
could put him in the pen. Like so, somebody like him, I don't think the Mets are giving him away by any stretch of the imagination. So, but like that's the perfect guy is somebody better than Yarborough, who could start. And so, but I kind of think they're not. I think this is a place I wouldn't skimp.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I were them. I would address it. And if I'm in a situation where bless me, if I have to have a sentence during the year where I'm like, I have too much starting pitching, you're not going to have it. And the other thing I'll throw in is the Yankees have to have some arrogance about them. Now, they're in a much tougher situation than the Dodgers, but the arrogance of the Dodgers was we're in the playoffs. And they
Hmm.
believed that on March 27th when the season began last year. I think the season began earlier for them because I think they were in Japan. But in March, they're like, we're in the playoff. I was in their camp in early March. I watched Shohei Ohtani throw a bullpen. Like, if they wanted Shohei Ohtani to start on opening day, he could have started. I
Absolutely.
believe that. They were talking about last year when they were running out of pitching in the postseason in 2024 against the Yankees. They were like, can he pitch? So I know he could have pitched to begin the season. They're like, we're in the playoffs. We're probably going to get 100-ish innings out of this guy this year post Tommy John surgery. The 100 we want includes October.
Hmm.
I think the Yankees have to begin with that arrogance about Cole.
Could not agree more.
Make sure the bullets aren't wasted in April, May, and June.
No one cares about those months. It's
Well,
it,
they do. You can't because I think the AL East is good,
but
top to bottom.
but
You
wouldn't you
know,
agree with the way that it's gone the last 3 years for these Yankees team, or 4 or 5, if you want to go about it? They start off hot, but then
yeah,
it becomes this mid
but you don't want to
swoon
start off
and swoon.
Cole just for the hell of it now, because that's why I'm saying I would go get a starting pitcher to avoid cold, and help Cole, which is don't rush.
Yeah.
The 120 innings we need begins June 1st,
Yep.
June 15th. So, like, don't rush. We want, because look, if it worked perfect, it never does. But if it worked perfect and you had Cole at his best, Schlittler at his best, Fried at his best, Rodon at his best, Hill at his best, Schmidt at his best, and whichever celebrity guy I just put on their roster at their best on October 1st, that's how you could win a World Series.
That's how you become the
Right.
Dodgers.
Right. So to me, I would not just do a plug and play starting pitcher.
Completely agree.
I would try in this marketplace. I understand you're not going to go to the very top, and this is not a marketplace where I love the very top. You
Even
know,
Michael
like,
King.
so, but I don't think Michael King's at the top, and I like Michael King.
Yeah.
Here's my Michael King fear is he's not healthy a lot.
Mm,
And am I just doing the same thing where I'm weaving it? I actually think this version of a starting pitcher doesn't have to be, I'd like him to be as good as possible, but can I get a better version of Will Warren?
okay.
In other words, I don't know exactly, but somebody who I feel great about every 5 days will take the ball, will get me 18 outs, and hand the ball to the manager. And even if it's 4 runs, 3 runs, because I think they have to, it can't be Marcus Stroman, Carlos Carrasco, Ryan. Like it's got to be somebody who can go round and round. Now, if it's better, if you make a trade, like you use Dominguez to get a starter you really like, for example, or Spencer Jones to get a starter you really like, that's even better. Like I
That's
would,
where I want to go with this, Joel. Like,
so I get you. I get you. I would not mess around with this because, but you do have the navigation problem of Hill doesn't have options. Schmidt doesn't have options. So
Schlittler
like
can go down.
Schlittler could go down, but like
So
he
can
might be,
Warren.
what if he's your ace?
I know, I know. So if you don't send him down, you send Will Warren down.
Right. But like, and again, I think your biggest problem should be what the numbers
Yeah,
are.
exactly. Like I
I
don't
get it.
care if I have too much pitching at that point. Like it's great. It's a great problem to have.
And you almost never, it never works out.
Right.
So, like you never have it. So like the Dodgers played it perfectly, right? Because by the beginning of October, but you know what? You shake your head, but that was also their plan in 2024, and it all got hurt. And
Right.
it wasn't. So
I hear you.
I'm saying it is the script I would try to follow is the 2025 Dodgers. And that's how hard it is. One year it worked. Good for them. They figured out how to win the World Series both years.
Yep.
But one year it didn't work. And they nearly lost because they were just didn't have any starting pitching. And last year, I think Blake Snell could have come back quicker. I think Glass now could have come back quicker.
Yeah.
And I think the Dodgers are there's healthy and there's Dodger healthy. And Dodger healthy is not that you can go back out to the mound and throw 100 pitches, but one, you could throw it at peak performance. And two, we believe we're not pushing you early and you're not going to be there on October 1st.
Yeah.
I think that the way the NL West is set up and the talent of the Dodgers is they know they're in the playoffs. I don't think the Yankees could take it completely for granted because Toronto's really good. I think Boston's going to be even better next year. I can't believe Baltimore won't be better than last year. Tampa Bay always matches its way to at least 74, 75 wins as a baseline, if not better than that. So as opposed to the Dodgers, I don't think the Yankees could just go, we're in, we'll be cavalier about it. And that's why I would go get a starting pitcher.
So
Like that's at least a superior version of Will Warren. And I've got Will Warren at AAA,
yeah.
right? With Rodriguez, Cruz Rodriguez, with
Yeah,
Legrand,
with your young arms. Yeah.
ultimately Ben has, maybe with Chase Hampton coming back from his own
Hmm.
surgery at some point, with Bryce Cunningham maybe coming up at some like the Yankees have an interesting group of starting pitching in the minors. It's not ready, besides the Schlittler Warren, it's not ready on April 1st. And therefore, you can't just slope away and be like, well, we're going to get all these gifts starting about May 1st with Rodon and Cole. Are you?
No, you
I
don't
mean,
know.
the Guardians thought they were getting Shane Bieber at some point. They
Yeah.
ended up trading him before he made a start last year, right? Like this. These do not come with scripts.
No, they don't. And what's fascinating about this, Joel, too, is that and I'm going to throw again aggregators. Joel is not saying this is going to happen or not happen. I'm just throwing this name out here because I get this name in my head and I'm like, he's out there potentially. And I've heard you talk about him a bunch. He's an ace, Cy Young winner, Tarik Skubal. He's, I don't know why the Tigers would even do this, but if you
I don't think they're going to do it. If they do it, I don't think the Yankees could win that trade.
And that's where, like, I would say, like,
Because I
look,
think you, I don't,
Dominguez, Jones, Lombard. I throw all those names out there, even if it's for a 1 year rental. And this is where the Yankees fan is going to argue to us, Joel, and to everyone else, and as myself as a Yankee fan. Aaron Judge has maybe 1 or 2 more years of like prime. You're hoping that you have 1 more year of greatness from him. And I hate that Brian Cashman answered this question like this. What are you talking about? The pressure of building in Judge's prime window. It's like, well, no, you are trying to win a championship because the pressure is there, and you've come so close, and yet you feel so far away right now because, like you said, AL East is stacked against you. You have so many holes you're trying to adjust with this team, and the fact that you just laid out brilliantly about the starting pitching for this Yankees team, and that you can't rely on Cole and Rodon to start off healthy at the start of next year. If you could get a Tarik Skubal, that would put you in the Dodgers territory of Cole and Rodon take as much time as you want because we have our ace. We have Max Fried as a two. And could you imagine what that rotation would look like if you had Cole and Rodon coming back to that? Like, that's just the possibility is insane there.
I actually think if he's available in that way, the Mets can beat that offer. And I think they would. I think the Dodgers could beat that offer.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they would. I actually think the Dodgers are in the best position to get him. They have so much pitching depth in their
Crazy.
organization, and it's got to be pitching. Like you mentioned Jones and Lombard. I'm not saying, by the way, Lombard's bad as the bench coach in Detroit. I'm not saying that they wouldn't be interested in these players. They might have to include him. But I think the trade for this player has to be like you might have to trade Schlittler.
Yeah,
You okay with that?
I am because you're upgrading Schlittler for Skubal.
So here's one thing, and I we have
We
to
have to
cut this
end.
at
You know,
some
we have to
at
end
some
this. I
point.
know.
So,
Yeah.
but I would do is I know how frustrated Yankee fans are about how last season ended, and I know head to head, Toronto uh, outdid the Yankees last year, which is why they won the division and why they beat them. But the gap is not that great, right? Like and I think it's one of the reasons like the Mariners are going to be aggressive this offseason. I feel like they were like almost every team that was in the American League playoffs could have been the Blue Jays last year.
Yep.
I don't feel like there's a dominant team in the league. And the Blue Jays really, in every way, except for the one that counts, beat the Dodgers in the World Series. Like, like if it was a boxing match, it's no less than a 10-9 round. It might have been a 10-8 round. They outplayed them in every way and didn't win the World Series. So if I'm the Yankees and I'm a Yankee fan, I would be like, I know there's always envy to, oh, we got to get this guy. You're not that far away. Like you're essentially bringing, if you got Bellinger, you're bringing back the core of a team that I think if you played the season 50 times would have gotten to the World Series in 10 or 12 of them. Like it's not outlandish. Like Detroit would have gotten to the World Series in a few of them. Seattle would have gotten to the World Series in a few of them. Boston would have gotten in the World Series in a few of them. The American League at that very top didn't have a great team and had a bunch of really good ones. And the Yankees were among the really good ones. And so I get it. If I'm in charge, I want to add as many great players as possible. And I appreciate that Yankee fans are always like, go get this guy and go get this guy and go get this guy. And it's why I began this by you live in the world that is and not the one you want.
Yeah.
And in the one that is, there's going to be a real cap on payroll. And they're the people in charge who did the Juan Soto trade for a 1 year rental, I don't think are ready to do it again
Mm.
because I dare say if we start from say 2021 forward, no team has come close to trading the inventory of young players that the Yankees have. And I think they don't, I think that they're afraid of if we do Skubal for a year, and then believe me, if they do, and we're sitting and doing this a year from now, you'll be like, why aren't they giving him 500 million?
But
Right? Like,
I would be
like
like,
a
you know
guy who's
what?
had Tommy John surgery twice, and you
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's like we're gonna be doing that, and they don't want to be in that world. I think they imagine that they could be in that world for Soto, like that they would be bidders. I think when they have so much money invested in Cole, Rodon, Freed, the idea of we're gonna trade for this guy and then have a fourth guy and have four like the six highest paid starting pitchers in baseball or eight, whatever that would be. I don't think that's where their mindset's at. So I think if you trade for Skubal, I think you have to be like the Mets and believe we are also going to then. He's a Boris client. He's going to get to free agency. There's no preemptive. Let's do a deal. You've got to believe that you've got a shot if not a good shot, to keep him. I don't think that the Yankees would. I think that there's other ways. Like I think like at its best, a Cole, Fried, Schlittler, Rodon, Hill, Schmidt group could be a really good starting pitching group to win in the postseason. Ultimately, a lot of bad things happen to the Yankees. If Max Fried pitches well in the postseason, they might have advanced.
Right.
Like with everything else. Oh, this is Max Fried, who's going to finish in the top 5 for the Cy Young. Like, like he had a bad day and the Yankees got eliminated. I think we think Max Fried is a very good starting pitcher. So I think they could have a good rotation. I would be very open to, and again, this guy makes 21 a year, but like, and I'm not sure that Minnesota wants to do it, but I like Pablo Lopez. If the medicals are good, he
Yeah.
had injuries last year because I believe that Pablo Lopez can start a playoff game. He's not just a plug and play guy. And I like the pitcher. I've only heard unbelievable things about him as a guy, clubhouse teammate, all this stuff. By the way, Tarik Skubal, top of the line teammate. That's not. I hope nobody takes that wrong. But like, I think that there might be other ways to go, and I don't think the Yankees are going to do that. I
Damn.
don't because I think they're going to do my gut
Yeah. Yeah.
without knowing it
Yeah. Yeah.
because is a plug and play guy.
Yeah.
And like there's a group of former major leaguers who went to Japan. Anthony Kay, Foster Griffin, Cody Pons, who became good starting pitchers in Japan. They're all coming back. They all are guys you can imagine going into a bullpen if you want. I think that those guys are all going to get signed to major league contracts of various sizes this offseason. I have no idea if the Yankees like any of them. But let's pretend they like Anthony Kay, the former Met. He was a high draft pick of the Mets.
Yeah.
I think he was in the Marcus Stroman trade for
Yeah,
them, right?
that's right.
So if he's a power lefty out of the pen, if you get fully healthy,
Yeah.
like he could be that. Do they like him? I have no idea. That's not going to stop aggregators here, but I have no idea if they like him or not. But I think that's what they're going to end up doing.
Yeah.
Like I'll throw out a name, Steven Matz.
Yeah.
Like, could he start for a month and then become your a lefty out of the pen?
It's another Marcus Stroman move, though, to be honest with you.
Again, I'm with you on this one. With you 100%. I might not go to the top of the market.
Okay.
But I would not screw around with a plug and play guy because
Totally
you can't win the season in April and May, but you could get into a shitty spot like the Orioles did last year. Waiting around for just delaying until Cole and Rodon come back.
They can have setbacks. Setbacks.
I would not screw around with it, Ryan. I would go get a real starting pitcher who I believe, because here's the other thing is the 4 guys I mentioned, if you had a bet on it, Fried, Hill, Warren, Schlittler, one of them is not going to start the season on time.
Absolutely.
So if you're down to 3.
Yeah.
So I would go get a real guy, and then I might get a plug and play guy too.
That's what I'm saying. You need at least, I was thinking 2 starters, Joel, for this offseason. Joel Sherman, this was an awesome episode. Thank you for going through the exercise with us for 5 burning questions for the Yankees Hot Stove. I know there's a ton of work for you to do here in Las Vegas to talk to GMs. I'm sure Brian Cashman will have some things to say, and I know you'll have questions to ask for him, and we're looking forward to your coverage throughout, and we're looking forward to the next time we get to catch up with you. But as always, Joel Sherman, we appreciate you.
Sorry, got to run and go do TV.
Thanks, Joel.